We'll have a seat and kind of get centered before we get started. So find that nice, comfortable seated position that works for you this morning so that you can align your spine. You want your head over your shoulders, over your hips. And then take a big inhale through the nose. Big exhale through the mouth. If you're comfortable with your eyes closed, close your eyes and just really take a moment to feel into your body. Just notice everything you're feeling. And then start deepening and slowing your breath down. So always recommend Ujjayi breathing for your vinyasa practice, but if for any reason you're unable to do Ujjayi breathing this morning, just do your nice, slow, deep breaths. And then start checking in with thoughts, how they're moving, how they're occurring, the speed and quality of your thoughts. Check in with any emotions. Notice what your energy is like. And notice how connected you feel to yourself, to each other, to the earth, to something larger than you. Let's bring our palms together in front of our hearts and go ahead and set our own personal intention for practice this morning. When you're clear on your intention, take a deep breath in. Big exhale through the mouth. Relax your arms, roll your shoulders back. We are going to start in downward facing dog today. So just plant your hands on your mat, spread your fingers nice and wide. Step your feet back and do any little movements you need to do. Obviously, first yoga pose of the morning and practice. So pedal the feet if you need to, roll your torso, do whatever feels good. And then after another breath or two, just go ahead and find some stillness and also length in the spine. Walk your feet forward, keep your knees bent. Take a few breaths, just relaxing in your ragdoll. Let the weight of your head lengthen your spine. And then on your next inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. And exhale, bring your palms together in front of your heart. Take a moment and really feel your spine align. So today we're going to be playing with the idea of active stretching versus passive stretching. And I like to think of this particularly from a yoga perspective as allowing energy to run through your poses. So we're going to start here in Tadasana and just kind of feel the difference. I want you to just let your arms hang. Just kind of let your body relax. Chances are your weight will shift to one foot or one hip. Just kind of stand like that for a moment. Totally relaxed. Then working your way from the soles of the feet up, I want you to start feeling your muscles engage. It's almost like they're all hugging the bones. You're going to feel yourself get a little taller, a little straighter, even let some energy run through the fingertips. And feel the difference in that. So this iteration of the pose is obviously much more alive. We want our poses to be pretty alive today. So we'll play with this. Let's bring palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up, stretch up. Exhale, go ahead and
fold forward into your standing forward bend. Inhale, look up halfway, and then exhale back down. Let's step back with the left foot this morning. So we have a right foot forward lunge. Just kind of hold your lunge for a moment. We want to give the body ample time to wake up and acclimate to our practice today. And even here in the lunge, we can play with active versus passive and energizing. So if you kind of relax, you'll feel your back leg, your left leg, kind of bend and your spine will round. If you energize, your left leg straightens, as does your spine, and it's a different sensation. It's going to drop the left knee down. Right hand's going to come to the inside of the right knee. Roll to the outside edge of your right foot and just pause here, doing nothing. Notice how that feels. So, I mean, there is still something happening. There is some value to passive stretching. And then we're going to make it a little bit more active. So flex your right ankle and gently press against the inside of the right knee while you lengthen your spine and maybe begin to look over the right shoulder a little bit. Let's extend the right leg now, hands on either side of the right foot. So if you just let your right foot be soggy, and you hunch and round over your right leg, this would be passive, and you'll probably feel a little bit of a hamstring stretch. But now let's activate and energize it. Lift your chest up and look forward. Flex your toes, flex your ankle. Pull your tailbone back, pull your heart forward. It's a very, very different sensation. Chances are you're feeling more here. However, you'll also feel like there's more energy in your entire body and you're more alive. Take one more breath here. And then let's go ahead and bend the right knee. Bring the arms up and overhead. Just kind of let your hips sink forward. So this is the semi-passive part of our pose here. Now, if we energize our fingers, pull the shoulders down, tilt the pelvis back, lift the rib cage. Really focus on opening up the front of the left hip, tightening that left buttock. It's a different sensation. Fingers are extended. There's energy in the body. And then let's go ahead and bring the hands down and step back to plank. So the good news is there's no way to do a passive plank. It is, by its very nature, an incredibly energized position. So let's just hold this for a moment. The way your body feels right here in your plank, in your upper push-up position, this is kind of how I want you to feel in almost every pose this morning until we start to power down. So on your next exhale, you can go ahead and lower however you like. Come into either cobra or upward facing dog. Either one is fine. And then downward facing dog. So even down dog can kind of be passive if you're just sort of hanging out here and taking it as a resting pose, which sometimes it is. That's fine. But I want you to feel the difference of really pushing through the palms, actively reaching the hips back and actively pressing the heels down. And then step your left foot forward. So just like we did on the other side, you can go ahead and play with contrast here. Just relax a little bit. You'll feel your right knee bend, your head kind of hangs forward. That's the passive pose. Right leg straightens, gaze is forward for the more active version of this lunge. Then we're going to drop the right knee down, left hand to the inside of the left knee, roll to the outside edge of your left foot, just hang out for a moment. It's always good to feel contrast, right? So this is really passive. Now flex your left ankle and press against the inside of the left thigh. maybe looking over left shoulder. That's the active version, and you will probably feel more. We're gonna fully extend the left leg. Excuse me. And then go ahead and be soggy for a moment. It's not that there isn't anything happening in your passive stretch, there is, but there's very little energy, and we're here to create and channel prana, which is life force, which is energy. So flex your toes, flex your ankle, lift your chest, pull your tailbone back, pull your heart forward, and experience the difference between those two, the passive and the active. And then go ahead and bend your left knee. Let's bring the arms overhead. Just kind of let your hips go forward for a moment. And then let's energize the pose. Fingers are extended. Pelvis is tilted. Rib cage is lifted. And you're really actively seeking the opening of the front of your right hips. Your right buttock is tight. Your fingers are extended. You're breathing. And then let's bring the hands down and step forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. So I think you get the idea between passive and active. So we'll quit doing the kind of contrast, and I'm just going to take you through a somewhat active stretch practice. So let's inhale, reach the arms up. As you exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, back down. You're going to step back with your left foot, adjust your feet as necessary. We are rising up, warrior one. Active variation of warrior one. Take a couple of breaths here. Just think about really allowing energy to run through your body. I want you to go ahead and straighten your right leg. You're going to reach behind your back and either clasp elbows, interlace fingers, or those of you who can, you're welcome to do reverse prayer. Keep your chest lifted, pull your right hip back, keep the right leg straight. I want you to begin to lengthen your heart forward. We're not draping over the right leg, we're lengthening over a straight right leg and breathing. Come all the way back up. Bend your right knee. Bring those arms up and overhead. You're back into your warrior one. Palms together in front of your heart. I want you to lift off for a warrior three variation. Focusing on being very active through your left leg. Put your left foot back down. Third time's a charm, very active warrior one. And then we're going to bring the hands to the mat and flow through a vinyasa. And as you get to your cobra or upward facing dog, make sure that you're not just hanging out there, that it is in fact active. So you've heard me talk about having a little bit of a bend in the elbow. As you pull forward, that's what makes this an active stretch. And as you get to your downward facing dog, also be really energized and active here. So not just hanging out and resting, but actually reaching the tailbone back and the heels down. Then we're going to step the left foot forward, spin the right foot flat, come up into your warrior one. And again, just think energy. You're connecting your feet down, you're reaching those fingertips up. Lots of active muscles. Reach behind your back, either clasping elbows, interlacing fingers, or doing reverse prayer. Straightening your left leg, excuse me, and then lengthening forward. And so the idea is it's active rather than passive. We're not draping over our left leg. We're not hanging onto it. We're simply lengthening our spine forward. Come all the way back up, bend your left knee, arms are up and overhead, warrior one again. Palms together in front of the heart. Lift off for your warrior three variation, focusing on having a really active right leg. So in other words, your right leg's not just hanging out bent in the air. You have a flexed foot and you're trying to get that right leg nice and straight. Put your right foot back down. One more time, warrior one. And then we're going to take the hands to the mat and take our vinyasa. From this downward facing dog, we're taking the right foot forward, left foot flat, this time coming up into warrior two. So I want you to take your right forearm on your right thigh. Take your left arm up towards the ceiling. This is your semi-passive version. Now, if you feel like you can, and of course be mindful of back issues, but if you feel like you can, keep your torso exactly where it is and extend your right arm out parallel to the floor. Come back up, left hand on left thigh, right arm up and over, reverse your warrior, passive version. Left arm extends parallel to the floor, active version. Nothing should change in the torso. So what we're doing is we're using energy, prana, to hold us for this active version. Come back up into your warrior two, straighten your right leg. Lengthen the rib cage to the right, like you would for triangle, but keep your right arm out and take your left hand to the ceiling again. Keep the right side of your spine long, so don't start hunching your back or doing anything crazy. You want that length on the right side of the spine. Bring your hands down, either side of your right foot. Gaze forward. If you feel like you can, we did this during the Warrior One series. You're just going to make it a little more exciting. Arms are going to extend. Bring the hands down, step back to plank, take a vinyasa. From this downward facing dog, left foot forward, right foot flat, warrior two. Then we're going to take left forearm to the thigh, right hand to the ceiling. Part of the reason we do it this way first is to feel where the torso should be. We don't want that to change. We're just going to extend the left arm out parallel to the ground. Come all the way up. Right hand, right thigh, left arm up and over. Reverse warrior, and then extend right arm parallel to the ground. Come back up. Straighten your left leg. Lengthen the rib cage to the left. And then just keep your left arm out. Take your right hand up towards the ceiling. Lots of length on the left side of the spine. So don't be tempted to do a C curve. You're trying to lengthen the left side of your body. Bring your hands down on either side of your left foot. And then if you feel like you can, extend your arms in front of you while you're gazing forward. Hands to the mat, step it back to plank, and take your vinyasa. Now from here, we're gonna either walk or jump forward, standing forward bend. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. You've already done a wee bit of balance with your warrior three, but we're gonna balance in tree pose and play with the contrast between passive and active. It's really kind of interesting feeling it in the hips and the legs when we're in a balance pose. So we're gonna stand on the right foot first. You can have your left foot at your ankle, your calf, your thigh, wherever you're comfortable. And today I don't mind what you do with your arms. You can wave them about wildly or have your palms together in prayer. The first thing I want you to do is just kind of hang out. Your right hip will kick out. You're basically hanging on the ligaments of the hip. And that's your passive stretch. Imagine somebody puts a little hook in the top of your head and pulls you up. The right leg becomes very active. Your outer hip engages. Your left leg presses back to your left hip engages. You are lengthening and getting taller and taller with every breath. It's very, very active. Pushing left foot into right thigh. Pushing palms together if your palms are together. And then release. So standing on the left foot, we're gonna do the same thing. Bring your right foot up wherever you would like it. Let that left hip kind of relax and be soggy. I mean, you can balance like this, you can be kind of relaxed, right? But we're gonna try and activate it now. So left hip gets really engaged. You're lifting through the crown of the head. The right knee is pressing out. You feel both of the outer edges of your hips really tight because you're super straight and tall. And you're pushing your right foot into your left thigh or calf or ankle. And you're pushing your palms together while you grow taller and straighter with every breath. And then release. Nice job, you guys. Feet together, palms together. Take a big inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale and look up. And then exhale, back down. You may either walk or jump back to plank and take your vinyasa. Remember to be really active in your downward facing dog. So we're going to play with active versus passive pigeon. If you're experiencing the issues and you need to do this on your back as a reclined figure four, by all means do that. Otherwise, take your right leg straight behind you for a moment. And then go ahead and bring your right leg underneath you, knee bent. Slide left leg back. Come onto your forearms, maybe even flatten out. So this is the passive version of pigeon. Basically what you're doing is you're loading your body weight onto that right glute and just kind of letting it stretch. Very little energy running through the right leg right now. It's just receiving the weight of your body. So this is your passive version of pigeon. Now we're going to make it active. Keep your legs like they are, but come back up onto your hands. So this totally depends on your body. What you might do is keep your hands on the ground as you energize your right glute. You might take your hands off the ground. You might actually reach them up. If you're feeling extra spunky, you might reach them forward. Your right glute is off the ground. Your right leg is very active. And then hands down, downward facing dog. That same right leg, I want you to take it up in the air. This time bend the knee and roll your hip bone open. Put your right foot back down, shift into plank, and take your vinyasa. Left leg goes straight back. And then we swing that left leg underneath. Slide the right leg back. See if you can get onto your forearms or flatten out for the passive version of pigeon on the left side. So again, when we're being really passive with it, we get the leg in position and then we literally relax over it. So your body weight is loading that left glute and it is relaxed and receiving the stretch. And then to transition into the active version of this, we come up onto the hands. And again, maybe that's it for you. If you've got knee stuff going on, support your weight on your hands. You still can energize that left glute. Make sure it's off the ground. Maybe the arms lift. Maybe they come up. Maybe you reach forward. Either way, you'll feel your left glute should be very tight. And then hands down, downward facing dog. That same left leg is going to go up into the air. This time bend your knee, roll your hip bone open. And put your left foot back down. Shift into plank. Take your vinyasa. From here, we're going to drop down to the knees. And just do a spinal stabilizer. This is bird dog. But you can kind of play with the idea of this being active versus passive. So we're going to start with the right leg behind us. Just let your right leg be behind you in the air. The left arm extends. All right, so we're kind of doing something here, but not a lot. I want you to straighten your left leg completely, flex the foot, tighten your right glute so the leg lifts. Extend your left fingers and reach the arm up and then gaze forward. Very active. Left hand, right knee down. Give yourself a little tail wag if you need to. Nice passive movement. And then we go the other way. Left leg's in the air, right hand's in the air. Not much happening, a little bit, but not a lot. Flex your left ankle. Straighten your left leg totally. Tighten the left glute so the leg lifts. Extend your right fingers, gaze forward. Bring it all back down. Give yourself a little tail wag. And then a truly passive pose, child's pose. So go ahead and let your buns come back towards your heels, forehead down. You can either have your arms, pardon me, extended or back by your feet, palms up. From here, we're gonna scoot forward onto our stomachs to come into Sphinx. Sphinx is a really interesting balance of both active and passive. It's really cool. It's a beautiful blend. So from the waist down, 100% passive, right? Your buns are relaxed, your legs are relaxed because we're trying to lengthen the low back. So from your waist down, totally immobile and relaxed. And then from there up, we're active. So we're extending our thoracic spine, which means we're slightly lifting our chest. We're using arm strength and a little bit of back strength to pull the heart forward. So this is very active, right? And yet we're very passive downstream so that we can get the tractioning effect. Take one more breath here. And I want you to just really focus on feeling that contrast of energies between upper half of your body being very active, lower half being very passive. And then your final downward facing dog. And make this one as active as you possibly can. And then you can walk your feet forward and have a seat, extending your legs, coming into Dandasana. So Dandasana looks like a passive stretch, right? If you let your legs relax, you kind of let your back hunch. Nothing happening here, but we know that Dandasana is very active. So we put our hands on the floor and connect them down, and we push into the floor for that straight spine. And then we activate the legs. We want all the muscles turned on. Feet are flexed, heels are pressing into the floor, as are the backs of the knees. Very active. Take a couple breaths, check in with everything. And then keep your right leg straight, left foot to the inside of the right thigh. Let's lean out over our right leg. I want you to just do it the way you normally do, right? You can let your head drape, grab your ankle or your foot, whatever you want to grab. So this is actually the very passive version of this stretch. Now what I'd like you to do is bring your hands beside your knee, lift your chest and gaze forward. Pull your heart forward. Keep your right ankle flexed, please. Extend your arms in front of you and reach. Reach as though everything you've ever dreamed of is like 2 feet beyond your right foot. Reach forward. Keep your right leg active. Reach, reach, reach. Good. Then let your hands come down onto whatever part of your right leg you can get. Lift your chest, lift your leg. So you could hang out here with a soggy knee and a pointed foot and a rounded spine, or you can find your tailbone, lift through the crown of the head, flex the toes and the ankles, straighten the leg, lift your heart, and maybe even pull on the leg a little bit. Very active heron pose. We're going to bring the right foot down outside the left knee or thigh. So even in our twisting poses, they can be active or passive. If you kind of twist around to your right and you let your back round and your shoulders hunch, you're in a very passive twist, which also is not so great for your spine. But if you lift through the top of the head and get very straight and rotate to the right, becoming very active by keeping the spine long and straight, you'll get more of a twist out of it. So twist and look over your right shoulder. And then we're going to unwind and bring the soles of the feet together. So usually I have you guys do the very active version of this, but just so that you have contrast, let your hands grab your feet or your toes or whatever, and you're hanging out, right? And so some of you have open enough hips that you really are hanging out and your legs are flopped on the floor. That's awesome. The rest of us, we have work to do, right? So a lot of times you'll see people doing this balancing thing, which is really ineffective. In fact, it causes the opposite of what you're shooting for. So let's make this more active and more effective. Hands are right by your backside. You push into the ground for a straight spine, but you keep your buns on the ground. And then you press your knees out as though they're moving away from the hips, and then you reach them down for the ground. So while you're here, it looks like you're just sitting here. What you're doing is lengthening your spine and very, very pointedly contracting and tightening the outer hips to cause an inner thigh release. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and extend your left leg. Right foot's just going to snug to the inside of the left thigh. Go ahead and lean out over your left leg however you want for a moment. In other words, the passive way. And then I want you to bring your hands beside your left knee. Lift your chest. Pull your heart forward. Flex your left ankle. Arms reach out now in front of you and you're reaching. Again, as though everything you ever wanted is 2 feet beyond your left foot. Reach strongly. Keep your left foot flexed. Reach. And then wherever your hands land is a perfect place for them on the left leg. We're going to raise that left leg up. And get out of the sogginess and into the energy. So you lift your heart. You flex the left toes and ankle. You lift your chest some more. You make sure your left leg is straight, and maybe you pull your left leg towards you. So it's a very active heron pose, Kramchasana. And then this left foot, we're going to put it down outside the right knee or thigh. Get the full foot grounded and do a very active stretch to the left. So we lengthen the spine, we get very straight, and then we rotate. As you unwind from this, you're going to extend your legs into a nice wide V and make sure that you're on your sit bones for just a moment, not for long. Let your legs be soggy so your feet will either roll in or roll out, depends on your hips. Being very mindful of your back. Just notice what it feels like to do the really passive version of this, which I usually never allow, which is to just kind of round down and pretend your head's gonna smack the floor and your legs just kind of rolling around. Come up from that now. Flex the ankle and toes. Make sure your toes are pointing directly up towards the ceiling and act as though you're reaching your legs farther out, like you're trying to make them longer. I want you to reach your arms overhead and look up at your hands and maintain that arched back and active legs as you start to let your heart come forward. Reach forward. All your dreams are still out there. You're still reaching for them. You're lengthening your spine. Your legs are very, very active. Don't let the legs go soggy. Feet are flexed. One more breath. And then we come up, we bring the legs together and give them a really good wiggle. So from here, we're going to be rolling onto our backs, hugging the knees in, rocking side to side. This is where things become very passive, right? So in our standing poses, that's the most active. Seated poses are a little bit of both. As we come into our reclined postures, other than our bridge pose, which is what we're about to do, everything is going to be really passive. So this first reclined active pose is bridge. Big toes are touching, heels are separated and flat. Please don't come up on your tippy toes. We're going to push through the whole sole of the foot, activate the glutes. We want to tilt the pelvis back Lift the hips up and lift the chest. So as you're here in your active bridge, you continue to push the pubic bone towards the ceiling. You continue to lift the rib cage away from the pelvis. You push through the entire sole of each foot and you breathe. And lower down. Hug your knees in, rock side to side. That's the last active thing you have to do this morning. So now we're going to move into a nice passive twist. I'm going to let you do either both knees bent or one leg bent, one leg straight. It's completely up to you. But we're going to be twisting to the right with the left arm opened out. So if you're keeping both knees bent, you'll take both knees to the right. If you're going to have one leg straight, it's your right leg that should be straight. And you're taking left leg across the body. So you're twisting to your right. Hopefully your head is comfortable enough to turn to the left. Your left arm should be out with your palm facing up. And I want you to focus on the exact opposite of all of our active stretches. We've had everything very engaged in our active poses, and now we're going really passive. So I want you to relax as much as possible. Couple more breaths on this side, really releasing all tension. On your next inhale, come on up. You can hug your left knee in, and we'll go ahead and bring the right knee up to meet it. If you had both knees bent, just hug them both. Maybe rock side to side. And then you decide if you want to keep both knees bent. They're just going to drop to the left with the right arm opening out. If you're going to have one leg straight, it would be your left leg. And you're going to twist your right leg across your body to the left while your right arm opens out to the right and your head turns to the right. And I want you to really try and embody the idea of passive energy. So in the same way that you were very conscious of activating everything earlier, I want you to consciously relax everything now. On your next inhale, go ahead and come on back up. Hug one or both knees in. Rock side to side. And then go ahead and place your feet flat on the mat, ankles and knees together. This is that gentle passive hip rolling, right? So as you exhale, both knees drop a little to one side. As you inhale, they come up, and as you exhale, they drop a little to the other side. And with each breath, you can make it a bigger and bigger movement, or you can keep your movements gentle and subtle. It's whatever your body prefers. We'll go one more time on each side, or whatever makes you feel even. And then when you do feel like you're ready, you're gonna allow the soles of the feet to come together on the mat and let your knees drop open. So we're just gonna rest like this for 3 breaths. It's a very passive inner thigh stretch. The active version of this stretch for the inner thighs is to tighten the muscles on either side of your outer hips and press your knees down towards the ground. Feel that huge difference, right? And then relax again. Now let's lengthen the low back. So keep your knees wide. The next time you breathe in, just press your low back into the mat. Lengthen the low back. It should be pretty gentle. It is an active stretch, but it's also a very, very gentle stretch. Take one more breath here. On your next exhale, release. Let that curve come back into your spine. And then one more time. Inhale, flatten the back, hold it. Exhale and release. Begin to extend your legs. Separate your feet. Flop the legs in and out a little bit if you need to. Make sure your glutes are relaxed. Arms are somewhere below your shoulders, preferably with your palms up. So we're going to do 2 tense and release breaths, right? That final contrast between active and passive, and it helps us really relax. So the idea is we inhale through the nose. While we hold our breath, we squeeze, tense, clench, tighten every muscle in the body. And then when we exhale, we're going to exhale through the mouth with 2 big vocal sighs as we relax. So here we go. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Squeeze, tense, tighten, clench every muscle in your body. And then 2 big exhales. As you relax. One more time. Breathe in. Hold your breath, tighten, tighten, tighten. 2 exhales. And relax. Feel all of your muscles melting and softening into the floor. Notice how your breath starts to soften along with your muscles. Take a moment and check in with your thought processes, the speed and quality of your thoughts. Check in with any emotions. Notice your energy. Notice your connection. So I want you to really just savor and rest in this beautiful passive energy, this stillness that you created through movement. So contrast is how we find our way. We know silence because we understand noise. And we know stillness because we understand movement. And we know this beautiful passive state because we understand the active state. So for now, enjoy the stillness, the silence, the passive state of beautiful energy flow that you've created. Begin to slowly feel back into your body. Start to deepen your breaths a little bit and begin to move your fingers and toes, bringing a little bit of active energy back into your passive body. When you feel like you're ready, on a deep inhale, spread the fingers and toes, and then exhale with a sigh as you relax them. Breathe in even deeper, stretch through your arms and legs, lengthen out, and then again, exhale and relax. Bend your knees. If you like, you can hug them into the chest, or you can just let your feet rest on the floor. When you're ready, roll to your right side. And then you can press yourself up into sitting. So as you come to your seated position, I want you to just get your spine aligned, just like we did at the beginning of class. Notice if anything feels different. So what you've done with this morning's practice, and honestly, what you do with every practice, is you bring in prana, which is life force, which is energy, it's what animates us, right? When you do the active practice like we did today, you bring in a little bit more. And then when you become very passive in Shavasana, you allow it to spread throughout your entire body, throughout your entire being. And so how you feel right now hopefully does feel different from how you felt at the beginning of practice. If anything, I hope that you feel more alive, because that's kind of what the prana does. It gives you more life. So what I'd like you to do is just let your shoulders relax. We're going to interlace the fingers, letting left thumb be on top. So if you need to switch the way the fingers are interlaced, do that. Your hands are simply going to rest in your lap, which will put these interlaced fingers kind of in front of your bladder. We're going to do an Ujjayi breath that is a little bit more ancient in nature. Rather than it being primarily in the upper torso, it is down here actually by your bladder, by your second chakra, your second energy center. So there's not a ton of movement in the chest and the rib cage. It's all actually lower abdomen. That might feel odd to you in the beginning. I want you to just work with that. Just do your best. So straight spine, right where your interlaced fingers are resting is where you should feel and be conscious of your Ujjayi breath. Try not to let the idea of this make you tense. Just do your best with this deeper, almost bladder-based Ujjayi breath. You should feel minimal movement through the rib cage, interestingly enough. Sometimes it's hard to access, but once you get it, you'll kind of have that aha moment. And just let your breathing return to normal. Unlace your fingers. Allow them to rest, palms up on your knees or thighs. Maintain your straight spine. Maintain closed eyes, or close them if they were open. Completely passive breathing now. Your body will breathe exactly the way it needs to. Zero control from your side. So this final posture of passive receptivity. We're allowing ourselves to receive all the benefits of the practice, all the benefits of the relaxation, all the benefits of the breath work. And then slowly bring your palms together in front of your heart. And just take a moment in gratitude. So as humans, we are so fortunate to be able to understand these ideas of contrast, of active and passive, of giving and receiving, of being more solar or lunar, or male or female. These are all energies. These are all contrasts that help us find where we belong, wherever it is on that continuum. It's taking a moment in gratitude for the ability and capacity to understand these concepts of contrast and to find our place in the middle path. Take one more huge inhale through the nose. Big happy sigh. We bring our palms to our foreheads, reminding us to be present, to pay attention, to show up for our lives. We bring our palms together in front of our lips, and it reminds us to speak our truth. We bring our palms together in front of our hearts. It reminds us to honor our hearts, to keep them open, so that we can practice kindness, compassion, and most importantly, unconditional love. Thank you for joining me this morning. Namaste.